It's really hard. There's, this is where I was like afraid, you might think I'm weird because like even my siblings, some of them think I'm being ridiculous and then they try and test me and then I start gagging. Sometimes I've thrown up. And then I found out one time my neighbor up the road, she's like the same way and I'm like, so there is more people than me when it comes to this.
I went into this series thinking I was going to crack a cold case. In a way, I have. Dedicating a whole podcast to smells isn't something we see. We're here because the struggle against smell is not communicated, not protected, and hidden. And we're going to take the first steps to change that. What else do we not talk about? What other areas do people feel alone in their struggle against smell? I think of Tracy often. She would tell me over and over.
This is going to sound really crazy. People think I'm weird. I feel kind of embarrassed by it.
My heart broke for her. Does anyone else feel like this? Like they're picking up something from the environment that no one else is? Or so they think? After all, community is sharing our experiences with one another. So my goal with this episode is just that. Showing Tracy and anyone like her that they aren't alone. So what other smells affect people?
I hate the smell of pickles.
Rotten food, like expired food.
Perfume.
The smell of any Febreze makes me feel like my head is full of pressure, and it makes me want to throw up.
Mold. I want to puke.
I hate the smell of peanut butter. I cannot do the smell of peanut butter at all.
Fried butter. It hurts my nose.
The smell of metal. So like when you touch a doorknob that's metal and then you can smell it on your hands, I just feel repulsed by it. And I immediately have to wash my hands.
The smell of dandelions, freshly pulled, smells horrible. It makes me want to vomit.
Shrimp. It's repulsive. I kind of like stumble back a little bit.
Yeah, looks like we need to talk about it. Welcome back to What's That Smell? The podcast where we nosedive into the landscape of aromas that make up the smelly state of Iowa. We've talked through the history of odor and its effect on our bodies, and how to combat it in our homes. We've understood that odor has been silenced by our government, and we have the opportunity to make a change. So take a deep breath and plug your nose for this week. Now is the time we take odor into the open air. Let's start where we first began. How does odor affect us?
Good morning. It's afternoon. This is Sam Tucker. I'm a senior. I'm from Winterset, Iowa. I study math and data science. My favorite kind of ice cream is cookie dough.
Hello, I am Peyton Drake. I'm a sophomore from Granger, Iowa. I study finance, and my favorite shape is a hexagon.
My name is Lillian Warnken. I am a freshman from Homewall, Tennessee, and I'm a horse girl.
So, first, I want Peyton to talk about Cedar Rapids.
Oh.
And I'm sure you can jump in
Okay.
with Cedar Rapids. I don't know, anything about it. So go ahead.
Well,
He probably knows more than I do.
Cedar Rapids is a city in the eastern part of the state, and it's unique because it has a cereal factory there. And so the city notoriously smells different depending on the day and what cereal they're making. And so on Fridays is when they make their blueberry cereal. And that's when everyone says, oh, I can smell, I don't remember what it's called, but it smells like this. And yeah, it's good. The other 6 days, though, it smells like, crap. Then you get the name Cedar Rapids. And it's also just a not less than stellar city compared to the great city of Des Moines.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's a cereal. It's like a cereal is in Lucky Charms and Frosted Flakes type of factory.
Yeah, but
what's the
knockoff cereals?
Does it smell like the cereal, or because you said it smells bad? I don't think cereal necessarily smells bad.
Well, it probably doesn't smell bad when it gets into the box, but the process of making it might smell bad.
I feel like oats don't have a very strong odor besides they smell very clean.
Its strongest odors are produced by the city's 5 main industries: meat packing, corn processing, soybean processing, pulp, and cereal making.
Oh, so it's more than just oats.
Yeah, it's just more than just oats, but it's all its industries make the city smell just worse.
A quick Google search of Cedar Rapids, Iowa confirmed its label, the City of 5 Smells. I wonder if the people of Cedar Rapids are used to the smells there too.
Have you guys ever been on campus before and it like
Yeah.
smells like dog food?
Yes.
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 What's that about?
Yeah, when I first got to Drake, I remember I walked out of the car to go to midweek, and Emily Scott goes, "Do you smell that?" And I didn't smell it, and then that's all I could smell from the last, like, was dog food.
Right.
Like, every time I would step outside. You ever, like, walk past Hub and you, like, just smell Hub, but it's not, like, pleasant?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. You ever walk in Hub and it smells like Hub and it's not pleasant?
I
Yes.
don't think Hub is ever officially pleasant.
When you go to Hub and you like smell something and then you're like, oh, this is actually like smells good, it looks good, and then it tastes good, that's a Hub dub.
So are you saying that smell is the first thing that you experience?
I would say, I mean, like, yeah. I mean, you walk into a cafeteria and you like smell like, okay, what's the vibe today, you know? Sometimes when they're cooking fish, it's like, oh boy.
Okay, Lillian, you and I were talking about your distaste for broccoli.
Oh,
Tell me about
yes.
that.
Oh gosh.
So broccoli, normally, like, as a kid, you don't like it anyways. But
Broccoli's
for me,
amazing.
I could not stand the smell. Like, it will physically still make me gag.
That's wild.
And I don't care if it's boiled. You can smother it in cheese. Do what you want to it. I cannot stand the smell.
That's
and it will
crazy.
make me not hungry.
Like, okay, so we kind of like poop on all these like bad smells and like, oh my gosh, it like hurts our appetite. But like, what are like things that it smells good and then it increases our appetite?
Auntie Anne's pretzels. I smell Auntie
Annie's
Anne's
pretzels.
Auntie Anne's pretzels at the mall.
Auntie at
Anne's.
Oh.
Auntie Anne's at the mall.
Auntie Anne's pretzels at the mall. When you
That's
can
true.
smell that cinnamon and sugar and like
That made me
fresh
think about like,
baked bread.
have you ever like walked by a Subway? Like just
okay,
walk,
I hate Subway, so I can't be a
like
part of
like
this.
the just like the bread exhaust that comes out of a Subway.
You like the smell of that?
It's not bad. Like if you have a good experience with Subway, I think that's like that smells good. Maybe I want Subway today.
Okay, fair.
But if you have if you don't like, I think it's like a 50-50 ball. It's like it kind of
don't-
depends on your feelings towards Subway.
I don't mind. I like Subway, but I have never smelled the bread. Fresh bread, though, that smells so good.
You know, that's interesting that like your
Yeah, fresh bread.
experience depends if you think it's a good or bad smell. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
like
Yeah.
the smell determines your
Well,
experience.
because,
Well, it's like-
like,
Go ahead.
for example, me being a horse girl, being around, like, horses and manure, I don't smell it anymore. Like, it's not going to bother me. But someone else could show up or, like, try and hug me and be like, you smell awful.
Yeah.
I think it's also like have you ever had like have you ever eaten something that's like made you sick before, and then suddenly you hate that thing?
Yeah.
Like when I was in high school, I one time ate like a peppermint milkshake or something, or not like a pure mint milkshake. Like we put like it was like just like straight up like mint syrup inside of this milkshake. So good, but it made me sick like 2 hours later, and so now I'm not a huge fan of mint as a result of that. Just because it's like whenever I smell mint, especially in ice cream now, it's like I just get sick to my stomach.
Tracy talked a lot about her issues with minty smells pertaining to gum, labeling it as one of her most embarrassing dislikes. See, this is why we need to talk about it. So, in my last episode, I talked about like health effects. Where we like can get nauseous or we can feel like some people feel exhausted, some people can't focus, some people like actually do throw up.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think that is like, why do we think that is?
That's interesting.
I feel like part of it is it goes back to the point you made, Sam, about, like, bad memories associated with smells.
So do you think things don't even smell like bad or good, just what we associate with them?
I disagree.
I feel like some things are just like
Objectively.
objectively smell bad.
Because you ever like smell something like that smells bad, but you don't know what it is. You're just like, that smells bad. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, like
yeah, I
it's like a dead mouse in your basement or something. Like that smells bad. Like that's
Like
Big
I
blue.
don't know
rancid.
anyone who
Hate.
says that poop smells good.
Yeah. It's like
Like-
no one was like, man, I wonder if I should eat my poop, and then it smelled bad. And I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't now. Like I think it's like I don't know. Maybe that's just like how God created the earth. Is like, in general, it's like you were to look at something or like, oh, should I eat this? And then your first natural sense is to smell it, not to taste it, but to smell it. And like the two are combined in and of itself. I think maybe that's why too. Like your smell and your taste are similar.
Yeah, 80% of your
And
flavor
so-
sensations come from smell.
Yeah. So it's like if I'm able to smell something and I think it smells good, then I'm actually more apt to eat it. Where if I smell something and it smells bad, then I'm less apt to eat it.
Sam brought up a point that deserves a side note. Your first natural sense is to smell. He's right, but why? I did a little digging. Turns out the olfactory system, our sensory system of smell, like we talked about in the second episode, is our warning system for danger. A research study done by Karolinska Institute found that the olfactory bulb, which processes smells and sends signals to the brain, responded more rapidly to negative smells than positive ones. Essentially, our sense of smell is for safety. We just don't see it this way because it's more unconscious than the rest of our senses.
Bad smells tell us as humans, don't eat that. And good smells tell us as humans to, maybe you should eat that, or that's okay to eat.
So what in like the context of like environmental odors? Because we're not necessarily eating things we smell in
That's
the
fair.
environment.
Well, I think it's a similar principle. Like, if I smell something that, like, as a result of that, like, it implies, like, okay, if I smell something and it doesn't smell good, then that tells me I shouldn't eat that. Which means that it's, like, non-appetizing to me. Which means that if we smell something else that's, like, environmental, then, oh, I probably shouldn't consume that, eat that. That's probably not good. I don't know if that makes sense.
So speaking of your like experience with manure and like being around horses where you've like become like you don't really care about the smell anymore, do you think that's like a problem that we get used to smells we used to like hate?
I do, because like you get to a point with a smell that you're either so used to it you don't even smell it anymore, like it doesn't have a smell to you, but the moment anyone else is around you you're gonna smell it, and like they're gonna smell it but you're not aware of it. And I think in the sense of like environmental smells like you're talking about, it can be dangerous because like say there's a dangerous chemical in the air, or what was it when I went to Yellowstone? I think it was the smell of potassium.
Sulfur.
Sulfur, thank you. When it comes to smells like that, which can, like, say there's a smell of sulfur that you get so used to, if it does eventually have health issues with it, you're around it so much you don't smell it anymore. You're not even aware of it deteriorating you.
I don't think we talk about it enough because I think it's similar to that, where it's like, okay, it's kind of rude, especially if it's like a negative smell, like when someone smells bad. I think it also depends on the strength of it, because if it's like, if the strength of the smell is just so, like if the strength is just so high, like good or bad, like I think the threshold's probably a little bit more for like the bad side of things. Like people will just naturally talk about it. Like the days that it just smells like dog food on campus, everyone's talking about it. They're like, oh my gosh, like it smells terrible on campus. Yeah.
Weird.
So I would say that. I would say also it's like we get used to things over time. Like we can just, like there's a general sense of we just, our brain naturally ignores it. So I think that would probably be another reason why we don't really like talk about it enough.
Not to be controversial, but like considering, because I am in that law and climate change class, and we talk a lot about like how can you bring up these things that people don't like to talk about and effectively, and when it comes to someone's health, because that's a big issue in that class, it should be brought up for sure. But not a lot of people want to talk about it, and like there's no right way to ever bring something up, and some people are gonna be like, you're just being dramatic, you're not actually right, and you just kind of have to live with it.
All these stories look to accomplish one goal: getting our experiences heard. The way conversation easily pivoted to this smell, then this smell, then this one, goes to show we have so much to say. Bringing people to talk about smell led to things I never would have known about them. Overall, inviting a sense of care and community, with Tracy in the back of my mind the whole time. So that's what I did. I played it back for her. She and I were both fighting back tears.
I don't know, it's very cool to see that you're not alone, you know. You just sorry, I'm just a little emotional. So, because it's really hard.
We just don't talk about it, you know? And I think the goal with this is that we will talk about it, that it's not something we ignore.
Yeah. Everyone has their own struggles. Sometimes you just kind of need to be reminded that you're not alone.
I hope through these episodes we've broken some of the silence. If the government doesn't regulate a quality of life issue such as smell unless we speak up, let's do that. I hope this is the first step. And remember, if you smell something, say something, whether it's to a friend, your neighborhood group, or your community's air monitors. Thank you for listening to What's That Smell?